In a small town called Riverside, California, life was quiet. Mornings were filled with birds singing and people walking their dogs. The sun rose slow and warm, and nothing ever really exciting happened. That is, until the night everything changed. Ethan Harrow lived on the edge of town in an old house he fixed up himself. He used to be in the Marines but left after getting hurt. Now he worked as a mechanic fixing cars and trucks for folks who didn't want to drive far for help. He liked the peace, the quiet, and the way things stayed the same. Lisa Martinez was his childhood friend. She grew up next door and never really left. She became a reporter for a local news blog, writing about school events, town meetings, and sometimes strange weather. She had always been curious, asking questions most people didn't think to ask. One night Ethan couldn't sleep. Something felt off. The air outside was too still. Even the bugs weren't making noise. He stepped onto his porch and looked at the sky. It was clear, full of stars. Then, far away, he saw it. A dark shape moving without sound, slipping between the stars like it wasn't supposed to be there. He blinked, thinking it was a plane or maybe just his eyes playing tricks, but it landed. Not with fire or smoke, just silence. Deep in the woods behind his house. Lisa called him a few minutes later. Her voice was shaky. "Did you see that?" she asked. "Yeah," Ethan said. "I think something came down out there." They both went outside, walking toward the woods. The closer they got, the colder it felt. Not from the wind, but like the air itself was wrong. At the same time, other people across the country started seeing things too. A farmer in Texas saw lights in the sky. A radio operator in New York picked up strange sounds. A student in Florida dreamed of a huge black ship calling his name. No one knew what it meant. Some thought it was a prank. Others thought it was military. Tech gone missing. But Ethan and Lisa kept walking. When they reached the clearing, they saw it. Tall, black, smooth like glass, and standing still like it had been there forever. It didn't look broken. It looked like it was waiting. Something deep inside them both told them this was the start of something big, something they couldn't ignore. And somewhere inside that silent ship, something watched them back. The next morning, the town buzzed with rumors. Some said it was a drone crash. Others thought it was a movie set. But Ethan and Lisa knew better. They had seen it land. They had felt the strange cold air around it. And now, people were coming. Military trucks rolled into Riverside before noon. Soldiers in dark uniforms set up barriers around the woods. Helicopters flew overhead, scanning the area. Nobody could get close. A few hours later, a Navy team arrived. Among them were Petty Officer Danny Cruz and Ensign Katie Bell. Both were young. Both were new to this kind of mission, but they had been chosen for a reason. They were fast learners, good under pressure, and not afraid to ask questions. They stood near the edge of the clearing, staring at the black ship. It hadn't moved since it landed. Its surface looked smooth like polished stone, but when they tried to touch it, their gloves slid off as if it wasn't really there. "This isn't normal," Danny whispered. "Nothing about this is normal," Katie replied. Commanders gave orders. Drones were sent in. None came back. Sensors failed. Cameras cut out. Then, without warning, the hatch opened. Just like that. No sound, no light. Just a door sliding open like someone had pressed an invisible button. Everyone froze. After a long silence, the commander pointed at Danny and Katie. "You two, go in." They swallowed hard and stepped forward. Inside, the air was cool and smelled old, like dust and metal. The walls pulsed faintly, as if alive. The floor shifted beneath their feet, not moving, but changing, like sand turning into glass. They walked deeper in, following a soft glow. Soon they found themselves in a large room. At the center was a glowing core, floating in midair. It pulsed like a heart. As they got closer, the lights around them brightened, and something inside the ship stirred, scanned them, studied them. Then, for the first time in thousands of years, the ship spoke, not in words, but in thoughts. Danny staggered back, holding his head. "Did you hear that?" he asked. Katie nodded slowly. I think it's trying to talk to us. Outside, the world watched. Footage of the ship went viral. People stared at their phones and TVs, stunned. Something had landed on Earth. And now, it was awake. Danny and Katie stood in the glowing room, their minds filled with strange thoughts that didn't feel like their own. The ship was speaking. To them. Not with words, but with feelings, images, and ideas. It showed them stars, battles, and a long silence broken only by waiting. Then, just as suddenly, the connection faded. Danny stumbled back, breathing hard. Katie blinked fast, trying to clear her head. Outside, the military team waited. When the two Navy crew members stepped out of the ship, they looked changed, shaken, but also excited. What happened in there? The commander asked. Danny looked at Katie. She gave a small nod. It's not just a ship, Danny said. It's alive. Those words spread quickly. Within hours, reports were sent to Washington. Scientists were called in. Governments began to argue about what to do next. Meanwhile, Ethan and Lisa watched from a distance. They weren't allowed near the site anymore. Soldiers blocked the road, and cameras followed every move. But late that night, when things quieted down, Ethan got a message on his old phone. It wasn't from a person. It was from the ship. He saw words form in his mind, like someone whispering directly into his thoughts. You are strong. You have survived. Much. You are chosen. Lisa saw it too. Neither of them spoke for a long time. Over the next few days, something strange started happening. People all over the world reported dreams of the black ship. Some heard a low hum in their ears. Others felt sudden bursts of energy like the ship was reaching out looking for something, or someone. In Texas, a farmer woke up screaming after dreaming he flew through space. In New York, a student found himself drawing symbols he had never seen before. In Florida, a retired soldier stood in his yard and whispered, "It's calling us." Back at the site, the military tried to control the ship. They brought in tech experts, linguists, even hackers. Nothing worked. The ship wouldn't respond to buttons, wires, or voices. But when Ethan walked up to it, the hatch opened again. No guards, no warnings, just the silent invitation. He turned to Lisa. "Looks like it wants me," he said. She nodded slowly. "Then let's see what it wants." As they stepped inside, the lights brightened once more, and somewhere deep within the ship something smiled. After Ethan and Lisa stepped inside the black ship, the hatch closed behind them. It made no sound. The lights inside pulsed like a heartbeat, soft and steady. They looked at each other but said nothing. There was no need. The ship spoke again, not with words, but with thoughts. It showed them visions, Earth from space, humans fighting, humans building, humans surviving against impossible odds. It studied them, not just their bodies, but their minds. Then, it chose. A warm feeling filled Ethan's chest. He didn't feel afraid anymore. He felt ready. Lisa gasped as her mind filled with knowledge she had never learned, yet somehow understood. Outside, the world was changing. Governments argued over what to do. Some wanted the ship destroyed, others wanted to use it. Big companies tried to buy secrets they didn't even understand. And in hidden places, men with guns made plans. Not all of them were from the same country. While Ethan and Lisa were still inside, military leaders met in secret. They decided to take control of the ship by force. They believed that if they could capture Ethan, they could make the ship obey them. But Zarthun, the name the ship gave itself, was watching. It did not like what it saw. A few days later, under the cover of night, a team of soldiers moved in. They wore dark suits and carried silent weapons. Their mission was simple: get Ethan and Lisa, lock down the ship, and hand it over to those who paid the most. But when they reached the clearing, the ship reacted. A pulse of energy burst from its core. Every electronic device within miles shut off. Radios, drones, cameras, all dead. The soldiers froze as their gear failed. Ethan and Lisa came out just as the agents arrived. They didn't run. They stood tall. "You don't understand what you're dealing with," Ethan said. One of the agents pointed a gun at him. "We understand enough." Before anyone could move, the ground shook. The ship hummed louder. And then, without warning, the air lit up with light. Zarthun protected its own. The agents were thrown back, stunned and confused. Ethan, Lisa, Danny, and Katie ran into the woods. They had no car, no plan. But they had the ship's voice in their heads, guiding them. As they escaped, Lisa turned on her phone and hit record. "This is for everyone watching," she said. "The truth is bigger than governments, bigger than money. This ship chose us, and we're not going to let it fall into the wrong hands." She pressed send, and the world began to change. Ethan, Lisa, Danny, and Katie stayed on the run for days. They moved at night, slept in forests, and ate what they could find or buy without using their real names. The world was watching them now. Videos of Lisa's message had spread fast. Some people believed her. Others thought it was a hoax. But deep down, many knew something had changed. Zarthun waited where it was hidden in the woods. It did not move, but it was never silent. It spoke to Ethan in his dreams. It showed him stars, ships, and battles long forgotten. It told him about the others, those who had once flown among the stars, and those who still waited out there, watching Earth. Then came the day they finally went back. With the coast clear and no soldiers nearby, the four of them stepped aboard. Zarthun once more. The lights lit up like old friends greeting them. The walls pulsed softly. And when Ethan reached out, the ship responded. They weren't just visitors anymore. They were part of it. "What now?" Katie asked, looking around. Ethan didn't answer right away. He felt something deep inside the ship, like a door waiting to be opened. "Now," he said, "we fly." Zarthun understood. It powered up. The ground shook. Trees bent from the wind. Then, with no sound at all, the ship lifted into the sky. People on the ground looked up and pointed. Reports flooded the internet. Governments scrambled. But nothing could stop what was happening. Zarthun broke through the clouds, then through the sky, then into space. Earth grew smaller behind them. Inside the ship, the crew watched in silence as stars filled every window. They were the first humans to leave their world not in a rocket, but in a ship that thought and chose. They traveled faster than light. Space bent around them. Time blurred, and soon, they were not alone. A voice came through the ship's core, speaking in thoughts again. Not Zarthun this time, someone else. "You have awakened the black ship," the voice said. "You do not know what you carry." A fleet appeared ahead. Strange ships, sleek and cold. Beings stepped forward in holograms. Tall, silver-eyed, and ancient. "We are the Zalari Union," they said. "This vessel is not yours. It is a weapon of last war." Danny swallowed hard. We didn't mean to break anything." Katie looked at Ethan. "So, what now?" Ethan stood tall. "Depends. What happens if we keep it?" The Zalari stared. "Then you will draw the enemy," they said, "and they will come for your world." Silence filled the room. Space stretched before them, and the first chapter of humanity's place among the stars had just begun. Back on Earth, the world was falling apart. Governments argued, armies moved, and fear spread like fire. The sight of the black ship flying into space had shocked everyone, but what came after shocked them more: the message from the Zalari Union. "Humans have awakened a weapon," the alien voice said over global broadcasts. "They do not understand the danger." People panicked. Some called for the ship to be destroyed. Others wanted it brought back. Powerful groups met in secret, trying to decide if they could control what had already left their planet. But while the world fought over what to do, Zarthun's crew faced their own problems. Inside the ship, Danny started hearing voices again. Low whispers that didn't belong to Zarthun or the Zalari. At first, he thought it was just stress, but soon he couldn't tell if the thoughts were his or not. Katie noticed first. "You're not sleeping," she told him. "You keep staring at the walls like they're talking to you." He nodded. slowly. Maybe they are. Meanwhile, Lisa tried to make sense of everything they had learned. She wrote down everything, hoping to explain it later. Ethan, though, felt something deeper. He was changing. His thoughts were faster, his senses sharper. Sometimes he could feel the ship before he saw it move. Zarthun was shaping them, but not all at the same rate. When the Zalari gave their warning, the crew knew they had little time. Earth was in danger. If the enemy found humans because of the ship, there would be no hiding. Ethan made a choice. "We're going back," he said. The others looked at him like he was crazy. "To Earth?" Katie asked. "With all that's happening?" "Yes," Ethan said. "Because we can't let them destroy Zarthun, and we can't let the enemy find us without being ready." The ship agreed. It turned back toward home. But not everyone wanted them to return. As they re-entered Earth's orbit, a new fleet rose to meet them. Not aliens, but human warships. Missiles locked onto Zarthun. A voice came over the comms. "This is General Carson of the United Strike Force. You are ordered to surrender the vessel. It does not belong to you." Ethan stepped forward. "It doesn't belong to you either." Before anyone could respond, the sky lit up. Something else had arrived. Far off in space, dark shapes emerged from the stars. Massive, silent, and fast. The enemy had come, and they were here for the black, dangerous ship. The sky burned with light as the enemy ships came closer. They were unlike anything humans had ever seen. Black, jagged, and silent as death. They moved like hunters who had found their prey. Zarthun pulsed with energy. It was ready to fight. Ethan stood at the center of the ship, feeling its thoughts mix with his own. He could hear Lisa breathing hard behind him. Danny stared at the screen, eyes wide. Katie gripped the edge of a console, waiting for orders. Earth watched from below. Governments stopped arguing. Armies stood still. Billions of people looked up and saw something that would change them forever. Then, the first shot was fired. A blast of red light tore through space. One of the enemy ships exploded into fire and dust. Zarthun moved fast, twisting between attacks. It fought not like a machine, but like a living thing, like a warrior, and it chose to fight for humanity. Ethan felt it deep inside him. "It's making a choice," he whispered. "It's choosing us." Below, the world saw what was happening. The alien ships weren't here to talk. They were here to erase Earth from the stars. But Zarthun wouldn't let that happen. With a roar of power, the black ship dove toward the planet. It called out, not with sound but with thought. It reached into minds across the world, waking something old and strong. People dropped to their knees. Soldiers stood taller. Scientists forgot fear and started building. Pilots climbed into jets not to run but to fight. For the first time in history, humans stood together. Not by law, not by force, but by choice. As the battle raged above Los Angeles, Zarthun landed in the middle of the city. Its hatch opened and Ethan stepped out. Behind him stood Lisa, Danny, and Katie. They looked up at the sky where warships and aliens clashed in fire and light. "This is our home," Ethan said, "and we're not giving it up." He turned to the people watching. "If you want to help, if you want to fight, step forward." One by one, then dozens, then hundreds came. Soldiers, engineers, thinkers, dreamers. They didn't need weapons. Zarthun gave them something better. Connection. Bonding. Power. Book 1 ended with the world on fire. Book 2 would begin with humans rising, because the stars had finally noticed Earth, and now so had the enemy. But this time, humanity would not be afraid.